Motherfucker! Excuse me! While I wash my mouth with soap, every word heard, while the context is not enough to judge. True! But people believe that I know I don't get me! Swallowing the words that you read down my throat. Yeah, I got you when I hear you listen to anything I say. I won't talk it through, biting my tongue so on, beware. One day, I'll spin it in your yes! Well, I have to do have hijacked freedom of speech and created. I won't wear words or landmines. So, you want me to get a mouse because I have never done yes, so fuck you. I can't talk to anybody if it's a source for you. Swallowing the words that you read down my throat. Yeah, I got you when I hear you'll listen to anything I say. I won't talk it through. Putting my tongue through. Beware. One day, I'll spin it in your eye. Go! Fuck you, everyone! Go! Well, I'm walking fair, but breaking places I've never walked. A slave to again by now. What I say is what I mean. Think first, before you walk you might feel this swallowing the words that you ran down my throat. Yeah, I want you when I hear you listen to anything I say. I won't talk it back, pointing my tongue so on, beware. One day, I'll spit it in your face. But don't talk it fair. Don't talk it fair. Don't talk it power of judgment. Don't waste your time. Don't waste theirs.
This next one is discard.
Wait on for the morning voice. Go to work, your side to skies. Flipping on the pictures of the West Zone. Where the walk is the waters go. Yes, I can rise up and that's the morning rise. Stand the fuck up, right I'm lost, time! This is my life! I'm living the way I want to, it's open choice! Stand the fuck up, right I'm lost, time! Right on for the morning rise! I can't stand up for life! Gonna work in a shirt disguise! Gonna make a living just like I was told! And lost sensations! Work the box is the winner's code! Yes, I can rise up bitterness! No! The invitations! We want more to work and then die! Every fucking minute! We're performance just wasting time! The invitations! We're about to work and then die! Time to make a new life! Discover the old one! Yeah, and rise! This is my life! Why should live it where I want to? It's all for choice! Stand the fuck up! Right, I'm lost! Time! This is my life! God! I shall live it where I want to! It's all for choice! This God! Stand the fuck up! Right, I'm lost! Time!
Welcome to the Riff Crew. I'm your host, Steve Mitchell, and that was a clip from the Flippin the Bird Festival earlier this year down in Frankston here in Melbourne, Australia. And a man that's probably not enjoying too many festivals at the moment, but would love to, is over in a rock hole in the United States. How you doing, Skull?
I appreciate that. Rubbing my nose in it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen in Cyberland. This is Skull broadcasting from the past, present, and future in the Chamber of the Cosmos. Here with my good friend Steve Oz. As you know, I'm in the DC bomb rock doom band Black Manta. I've been in the scene for over 30 years, know people from all over the scene, and I've been invited to fill in for Andrew for a while, and I'm really excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we're really excited to have Riley Strong from Desecrator join us. How you doing, Riley?
Hey guys, it's a sunny, cold morning in Melbourne, Australia, so I can't complain.
And of course, you guys headlined Flippin the Bird earlier this year. How did you get the call or the invite for the headline act?
Flipping the Bird in Frankston was I'm pretty sure it was a long-standing a bunch of front bar after gig conversations with the promoter, Stu. He's been running that festival for a while now, and it's been slowly growing from a local to a more, I guess, a more substantial festival size, and a multi-stage event. And I think he has been a semi-regular at gigs we've played. So we talked about it. It seemed to have a vibe. He was always vibed on it. So when the idea of us playing it came up, it was a no-brainer to do.
And of course, that's not the only festival you've played this year. Just to rub it in more with the skull, is you were up in Kilmore as
Oscar.
well. Yeah, for
Yeah,
Killfest.
man. We I think the key point here, with festivals and with what's happening currently is that with the world being so localized and locked down due to the effects of COVID, um, people are taking opportunities where they weren't before. I mean, if you rewind to pre-COVID in Australia, we had international bands every, sometimes multiple nights in a week. We had a lot of big acts coming through, and a lot of national acts were not uh, not competing as much, but there weren't as much nationally focused festival shows. There were more, because every night of the week you could go see your creators and Destructions and whoever else from all over the globe. But
Wearing
that's
that
all
right
changed
now.
since,
Creator shirt.
yeah, there you go. Very gutsy creator shirt. Absolutely. I feel better for seeing it. um, yeah, it changed. It changed the vibe, and there's a lot of focus jumping up in Australia at the moment for Australian bands and promoters focusing on what they can do, and what they can do is promote statewide gigs. They can promote nationwide gigs to a degree. It's still a bit hard to travel state to state depending on the month. But because of that, these festivals are popping up like Flipping the Bird that are getting a lot more focus, and they're getting better crowd attendance. And that was what happened with Killfest, which was a very gutsy show. I mean, it took place in a 100-year-old old bluestone jail, which was a pretty cool setting. It was
Wow.
nice to be out of nice to be out of that pub and club setting that you know so well, and be in
That's
a
wild.
very historic center. It was a full installation of stage, and they had all these big fire braziers out the back, and it was a very open space. It was a regional show, so we're talking about an hour's drive out of Melbourne, into a rural area that's a very small community. But it really worked. People seemed to resonate with it. It was a great night. As the sun kind of set on the festival and it got dark, it really got a medieval Game of Thrones type of aesthetic to it, which suited the vibe really well. Like, it really got
Sure.
that kind of in character going on. So yeah, it was a really good little it was a good little show. We drove out of that one feeling pretty happy with it.
Well, at least you
I
didn't have
gotta
to.
ask you. Go
I
ahead,
was going to
Steve.
say, at least you didn't have to cross state borders, because I know you guys got stung with the. For those who aren't in Australia, you may not be aware, is that the state borders in Australia can be closed by governments at the drop of a hat, and you guys got caught out.
Yeah, we had a run of 3 shows, which was our first run of 3 post COVID. Like, the first time I'd been brave enough to book 3 in quick succession as opposed to just one-offs, um, for a couple of weeks back. But at the same time, there was a COVID outbreak in a different state, and that locked down the state borders again, and all 3 shows had to get postponed. Which, since they've opened back up and they're rescheduled and going to go ahead, which is a great result and a great thing. But yeah, it's a really hard time. We don't have any Mickey to have some return to normalcy and have some music in our lives, some type of live music, and an outlet where we can get in as punters and as artists and take part in music again. But it's still really touch and go. You don't know what the restrictions are going to be. Are they going to be seated shows? Are they going to be standing shows? Are they going to be 50 people? Are they going to be 300 people? It really changes week by week, month by month at the moment. We feel like we're rebuilding, but every couple of weeks or couple of months, there's a setback that just goes, okay, we're still in this space, and we probably are going to be in this space for a long time. So you just have to make the most of what it is, and remember that the music and the sharing of the music was the key element, not the size of the sharing or the format of the sharing in the first place.
Did you ever come to the Maryland Death Fest? Did you guys play here?
No, we haven't done Maryland Death Fest. I'm very aware of the gig, and I know a lot of Australian bands have played that.
Okay.
I know dudes personally have played it, but we've never been to the States. We've toured Europe a lot. We've done South America. We've done Asia. We've been to a lot of places, but we haven't actually been into the mainland of the States. It was
But
something that was on our next tour cycle once COVID hit and it got canned. So we like a lot of bands. We had an album ready to go. We had a release schedule. We had confirmed international tours to support it, and the world shut. So we all got day jobs.
right. Well, I wanted to go back to Creator real quick. I was talking to Steve, and I was checking out your music, and I was like, "Hey, man, I hear a lot of Creator in this," and he was like, "Oh yeah." So I was, yeah.
Yeah, man. Definitely
Is that the
Desecrator's
vibe I'm getting?
Yeah, Desecrator's roots are very, very firmly attached to the seminal thrash bands. The Germanic styles for sure in the riffing.
Sure, the Teutonic
That was
vibe.
kind
I
of,
feel it.
yeah, man. Absolutely, the Teutonic vibe was a big, especially in our earlier material. There's a lot of Sodom, a lot of Creator. That was where I was when I was writing those songs. It's such an energetic format of music, and that's, I guess, my connection to music is energy. I love that transfer of energy between crowd and band. So when I was writing a lot of the material, I was seeking ways that I could create that, and I think that particular vein of thrash metal is phenomenally energetic, you know.
Well, I'm just gonna have to add to that. I mean, this shirt, if you can see it, it's Creator's
man.
Super Diving Liga shirt. Now, this is actually a recreation. I had the original shirt. It was one of the first shows I went to. It was Creator, Holy Terror, Creator, and DRI.
Man. Yeah.
But I love this shirt. I figured I'd wear it just to represent. But yeah, I heard some of that.
Very good choice. Yeah, absolutely.
And with the shows in Europe, where were your favourite spots when you were over there?
Just it all seems like such a nostalgic memory now. Like, it's not that long ago that we were regularly doing that, but it's all such a memory at the moment with the way the world is. But a huge note point for us was we did a 2 weeks worth of dates through Russia. It's a few years back now, and we really we did the main obvious Russian dates that you'd imagine, you playing Moscow, etc. But we also played a lot of regional, a lot of rural, a lot of farming villages, a lot of small towns, a lot of places that had never seen an Australian, a lot of places that people were coming out to the shows just to meet an Australian because they figured they'd never meet another one. We played
like you're an alien or something.
Underground bikie clubs in the middle. Yeah, absolutely, man. And they came armed with every question you can ever. It was amazing. But it was a real big in shanty shacks, hugging external heater pipes for heat, like driving down iced highways in this kind of post-apocalyptic landscape of the old crumbling Soviet Russia in the stark contrast to the new building Russia, playing everything from bike clubs to youth centers to basements. It was a trip, and it was an experience I'll never forget. I doubt I'll ever drink another white spirit in my life, but
what the hell is
was
that?
a trip. That's a favorite. I mean, there's some great. Just drinking vodka, man. Once you've been to Russia and had Russian vodka every day of your life, you know what I don't need? Vodka. But that was a trip. I mean, Europe, we've done some great touring. We've been lucky to tour with a lot of great bands. Noteworthy, the last tour we did was with Airborne. We did
Oh,
27
cool.
dates with them. The highlight of that being we did a really good show at a classic venue called La Olympia in Paris. Big old multi-tiered theatre. I think it sold out at about 3,000 heads, and it was one of those moments where you walk on stage and the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. They were all great shows on that tour. I remember touring, supporting Overkill and Crowbar through Europe, playing
Nice.
Stuttgart in particular. That was some big open warehouse style venue shows, 2,000 people crammed into these giant big old hangar lofts. They were awesome. The first tour we did of Europe was in support of Hyrax, and that was a lot more your kind of 300-400 cap venues, but that was playing the clubs and the pubs and really getting our introduction the right way so that we could work a fan base from scratch type of thing, not just walk into these big stages that we weren't prepared for. We did it the small way first. Yeah, I've got a lot of good memories from that. We toured in support of Venom. We did a tour with them in Vital Remains in Europe.
Wow.
They were all great dates. That one led on to a great friendship. We
Wait, Kronos Venom or Mantis Venom?
Mantis Venom, Venom Inc. Venom.
Okay.
At the time, it was Mantis, Abaddon, and Demolition Man. It was when they first reformed into Venom Inc. Yeah, and that actually turned into a really good partnership. We've toured with them maybe 3 times since then, to the point that even Jared, my drummer, and I filled in at the last minute for Mantis and Abaddon in that band when they were due to play a one-off in Sydney, and the guys couldn't make it. So Tony came out, Demolition Man Tony came out, and we actually played on 4 days' notice. We joined Venom Inc. and played a Venom set that I'd learnt over 4 days. That was just a small amount of pressure, but again, a great memory that's been, all these things have kind of springboarded. No, we were doing Venom classics, man. We were doing all the bangers that you would imagine. Yeah. It was a good cross section, but yeah, just things that all those things have led from those tours. So when I think of memories from those tours of Europe, I guess I really think of the people you meet and the friendships you make from it. You start to make, by doing those tours, you start to make the network that becomes your kind of your phone book for the music industry. The people you can go to, the people you can ask advice of, the people that you can learn from. That's where a band like us kind of cut our teeth. Was we did a lot of touring for an Australian band, especially. We did a lot of touring early, and we really focused on being on the road and sidling up to bands who had gotten further and done more than we had, so that we could kind of learn, just learn, take notes, and try and work out the recipe to equal the meal we wanted to cook.
And what's some of the good advice that you've received from those bands?
What the fuck are you doing playing in a heavy metal band? You learn all kinds of things. You learn, like, one of the first things I think you learn is that touring isn't what you think touring is going to be. It's not, obviously the ride that you think it's going to be. It's hard work. It's regimented. It's no sleep. It's 37 shows in 39 days. It's how to maintain your voice and not lose it. How to sing all night on stage and then talk to the crowd, but then wake up with a voice the next day. It's how to look after your instruments. It's how to get backline that's going to work every night. It's how to learn enough in each different language of each different country you go to talk to the crowd and communicate with them on stage. How to put the right fuel in your body to function during the day. Where to rent your vans from, which highways to take, how to avoid the most tolls so that your European touring doesn't cost you an absolute fucking fortune, how to sneak more airline baggage through without, without the airlines charging you an arm and a leg. You know,
All the tools of the trade.
the psychology of your band members, like taking your band to the breaking point. These are all things you pick up, you know. So being able to do it at the moment, but you know, as everyone lost, that it's not going to be forever.
And is
Did
that
you mention earlier that you played with Vital Remains?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we toured. The package was Venom Inc., Vital Remains, Nerva Chaos from Brazil, Mortuary Drape from Italy. It was a 5-band package. We did, I think,
That's
17
cool.
or 18 dates through Europe together. But Vital Remains, the guitarist, who I guess is kind of the band. Really,
Yeah, I went to school in Rhode Island. I saw them in the early 90s.
Gave us the time of day right away. Oh, there you go, man. Yeah, really welcoming dudes, really good dudes that we've, at the time, his band was mainly made up of younger guys. Like, he had a few core members that played a few tours. The sense of humor between them and us really resonated, and I think that's when you're in a package of, it's really weird when you turn up to a tour package on separate buses. There's a few people who'll be on the nightliner, and then bands like us who try and squeeze every dollar, bring our own transport, and you all kind of get to the first venue. You stand around trying to work out who's who out of what band, who are you going to talk to. You have awkward small talk. It's like a date. It's like your first date. You try and make small conversation and have these little relations, but until you've all watched each other play, you don't really relax. So you stand around and have a chat. It's a bit awkward, but you get through it. But the Vital Remain dudes from the start, the sense of humour kind of resonated between us Australians and them. So we got off to a hilarious start, and the rest of the tour was just a laugh, man. And we've semi-regularly, you keep in touch with people on that level because you just remember, you know, the good times, the fun times.
And speaking of fun times, you guys had a sit-down show in December last year. How was that for you know, compared to the rowdy shows that you're normally accustomed to?
Well, the funny thing was the sit-down show was easily as rowdy as the rowdy shows by the end of it. It was amazing. So that was right at the start of venues being allowed to have sit-down shows, to have shows full stop, I guess. And the restriction was that you could have, depending on the floor space, you could have a certain amount of tables. They were at about the 100 ticket capacity, so that was groups of 4 on tables at 100 tickets, I think. And it was the first heavy metal show back in Melbourne. The night show sold out quite quickly, so we announced a matinee afternoon show, which was even fucking weirder than having a night show. Was the idea of doing a sit-down afternoon show before the night show. And we thought, you know what, we'll put it out there. Worst case, we sell a couple of tickets. It's a warm-up, it's a sound check, it's a chilled out afternoon. And the thing sold out again. So it was a really cool vibe going into it, going, okay, so people are really hungry for this, and this is going to be a thing. So we set it up. We couldn't have a merchandise desk, for example, because obviously people would be putting them in too close proximity. So we decided to make a merchandise menu with a QR code on the table, and we had a guy going around with a platter delivering everybody's meal. Looked at the show and went, how can we make this more of a lighting and kind of spectacle experience so that people can't move, they can't create the energy, but they can still feel the energy. And yeah, it was cool. I think people were so keen that the instant reaction was audible. It was loud. There's footage of a chair mosh pit that kicked off in the afternoon show, and there's footage on the internet of by the end of the night show, people had gotten their chairs, and sure, they were seated, but they'd gotten their chairs and thumped them down against the stage, and they were sitting against the stage headbanging. So it was, for what it was and the restrictions that were there, it was a real moment in time that I'm glad we said yes to. You know, a lot of bands said no to those shows because they didn't know what they'd be. We thought, fuck it, let's just do it. And I'm
Sure.
really glad we did it. It was an experience and a moment in time that if you watch it online, if you check it out, it's a thing that you know, it was, someone had to start saying yes, and someone had to start rebuilding the gigs, because if we all just kept saying no, there'd be no gigs, the venues couldn't make any money, they wouldn't survive, and then by the time the restrictions were lifted, where the fuck would we play?
And I guess one thing that has highlighted for me, getting out, obviously because there are no international acts, as you mentioned earlier in the show, is that just highlighting the local talent, and you know, in particular the Melbourne thrash scene. You know, I know there's a lot of rightfully you know, nostalgia about the Bay Area thrash scene, but the thrash scene in Melbourne is one of the best in the world. I'm assuming you would agree with that, Riley.
There's definitely, for a few years now, there's been a really good I can't agree with that. I've got no
Really?
perspective. I'm too closely attached. I can agree that the other bands are good, and I can agree that they let us play with them. But yeah, man, I think they had a really good vibe. We were lucky. Desecrator came in at a point. You know, it was probably 10 or 12 years ago now, when there wasn't in inverted commas thrash scene. Yes, as that movement with a few other bands was starting to do it, and it just naturally became a thing. You know, like Harlot already existed, Mason already existed, In Malice's Wake already existed, and they were just kind of forming their own little stylistic grooves. And then we came on the scene with a very strict thrash outlook and a very strict approach to it, and it seemed that it was very natural to group together. And I guess that's what then became what was known as the Melbourne thrash scene, and inspired a lot of younger bands who were just kids in our front row at that point. Then obviously got older, got their own instruments and started playing, and then it spread out, and now there's, not only is there a thrash scene, you say that Australia has a pretty good death thrash scene. There's good black and thrash going around at the moment. There's a lot of crust bands. Australia has a very firm identity in thrash metal, and historically before these bands, I'm only talking about our generation, of course. If you rewind beyond that, you've got a lot more cemented names like Mortal Sin, Hobbs Angel of Death, Renegade. There's a lot of bigger bands that came before us.
Yeah, you read my mind there a little bit, because I actually wanted to show you my favorite album from that period, and it's this. I'm sure everyone down there is familiar with this Mortal Sin album. I don't know if you can see it or not. Mayhemic Destruction, where that demon is destroying the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah, man.
It's a classic.
Yeah, man. That the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Yeah, man.
Just going back to, you mentioned 10 years ago, the scene was very different. You guys released Live Till Death 10 years ago, and you guys are celebrating that.
Live Till Death was our first album. It was a live album, hence the name. I guess that resonates with a lot of what we've been talking about, focus for us from day one, that when it came to recording our first album, when it came to doing our first release, we weren't interested in a studio record. It just seemed that it was something that, at the time, everyone's albums were sounding really similar, especially every Australian band. There was the production was all within a ballpark of each other, and it was all kind of to my ears, it sounded like it was within a very tight framework and a very kind of conformed framework to what was current. And I didn't want to get caught in that because I didn't want it to date. And I didn't want it to be just another album by another Australian band. So we thought that the best way that we'd be able to represent the songs we'd written, represent what we were doing and what we were trying to do, was to do a live record, because it was who we were. We couldn't lie, we couldn't cheat, we couldn't change anything, but at the same time we could present what we did, you know, and how we did it, which was what we tried to do. We just got up there and played it. And I think listening back to your own albums all the time, so that'd be weird, but getting it on vinyl and listening to it from start to finish for the re-release, it really pointed out that A, we were young and we played really fucking fast, and B, that I think we achieved our goal. I think it sounds just as relevant now as it did then. So it's been really cool. It's been really, really good to re-release it. I'm really thankful that people have been interested in buying it. And it's a fun idea to be going out and playing the record from start to finish, which is what we're doing for the next couple of shows. So it's nice to revisit where we were in our mid-20s, now in our mid-30s, because you kind of remember your headspace, you remember all that anger and fire and all the drive, you know, as a young band, trying to stand apart, trying to prove ourselves, trying to work our way up. You remember all that. It kind of resonates through your DNA when you play the riffs, and it's been fun to refine that excitement, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, Life Till Death's been a trip. It's been a fun thing.
And more recently, you've been saying for, I'd say, at least 2 years now, we've got a new album coming out. And it's kind of starting to sound like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. You guys got a release date yet for that?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's called Chinese Democracy, man. We are, yeah, we do. We've had an album, man. We did it just
Part
before
two.
COVID. As I said, we had an album, we had a release schedule, we had two. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just going to get some QB honey on my throat. But no, it's cool. It's going to happen. We wanted to get this Life Till Death 10-year thing out the way first. This was always something we planned on doing, so we wanted to honour that and do this re-release, and then the next thing will be the record. So I don't have a firm date to announce now, but I can tell you it is definitely coming. We've started to look at how and where we can tour it. We're looking at how we can promote it. I'm in the car because I'm driving to meet the rest of the band guys and discuss PR literally after this. So wheels are in motion, man. Another 2 years and we'll have it out, I swear.
Oh man, I mean, if you guys can make it over to the Maryland Death Fest, that would be awesome.
Oh man, we'd love to come over there. We've never toured the States. We've toured with American bands before, obviously. We've seen the great gigs that exist. We've seen on club levels, on bigger levels, the bigger obvious headliners that we've met, but also the underground scenes and the really kind of like our level bands over there. We really want to immerse ourselves in it. We just haven't quite had the opportunities yet, and Europe's always been more available for us. So it's something that I really want to focus on the next record.
We don't stop! Rotten Christ! I don't even need to tell you what to do. It's up to you, Frankson. A crusade. I saw Shatter after that. I watched Room to Tune. And you know what? If there's a single band member in here from any of those bands, they may have repaid that favour. But we'll talk to them about that later. You're a fucking great crowd, guys. Thank you so fucking much. If we haven't met you before, I look forward to having a beer with you after the set, yeah? Thank you so much for being our gig after COVID. This is Brainscan!
this all over the fucking world. Sometimes with a language barrier, it's hard to explain how we've ripped off Slayer. Sometimes when you're in the north of fucking Europe, they don't understand when you say, we've ripped off Slayer. But we did that for the greater good of heavy metal. We've done that so that every one of you understand what to do with this one riff. This one moment that we all have together before we back off. You ready? I'm watching. It's like playing in Norway. No. So, above your shoulders is a neck. Joined by the neck is your head. It's all gonna hurt tomorrow anyway, because you've been drinking Carlton fucking draft all night. So, I ask one small favour before we go. The neck that joins the shoulders and the neck. Join it all together. In time to the fucking kick drum. And bang your fucking heads, Frankston! Let's show that we know what to do. You ready?
This first song is about a terrible thing that haunts Frankston. It's called The Angel of Meth. Does your mother? Go to a junkie! I'm doing fucking rap! Well done! One guessing down! Break up records around! You're a fucking animal! Everyone around will turn you fucking up! Take that, it's already gone! Turn it to your fucking life! Take it away! All I know is what I'm saying. I don't take my faithful friend. You just tried again. No matter how hard you think. Turn it into the 22 fucking man. Go to your wood. What I say makes me feel great. You just tried again. Mosh cunts. No, you're so loaded, so this puts a better for the better on you. Try to tell you shit, cause you never listen to any of it. The tone from the form, the tone, running across your on the soul that's painful. From all the years of the good, I want your self-dismay. Do what you do best. Raise a pint to your lips, take another fucking year. Tonight for you now. Too late. Too late. Boy, split it, cunts. Split it, you fucking dogs. Confused, run, fall. Yes, 983.